Ah, me hearties, a very good evening to you. It's just me, Scottie McClue. Welcome to our Saturday evening show. Tonight, 1 hour of superb scintillating information, education, and entertainment for not just one nation, but for all the nations of the world. So I hope you'll come and join us as quickly as possible, and then we can get started. 9 o'clock is the time, 9 o'clock sharp. Nothing gets past me. Lovely to be with you, and welcome, 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 I say. If you've never seen me before, I'm Scottie McClue, capital S, small C-O, double T-I-E. That's the Scottie, and the McClue, capital M, small c, capital C-L-U-E. That's the McClue. Welcome, welcome, I say. Kareem says, hello, Scottie. Hello, Kareem. How lovely to have you with us. Kareem, can you see me and hear me all right? Yes, because I know you like to get it on the telly and all that sort of thing. Fantastic stuff. So do let me know. And if you want to give us a quick phone call, I'll check that the phones are on and we can do that. Perfect, Scottie. Excellent, Kareem. The new equipment seems to be doing the trick. So I'm quite pleased with that. And the channel's moving on apace. Good evening, Scottie. Good evening, Susan. How lovely to have you with us. And a big dinky-do to you. Tremendous stuff. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining us. Very much appreciated. Aha, this might be our Kareem. Hello, you have a Scottish phone in. Who's that?
DINKY-DOO, Scottie.
Kareem. DINky-DOO. I thought I'd get you on early, you know, and then we can get a good crack at things. How are things with you?
Not too bad, Scottie. Just been up and down with health, just the long COVID again.
Oh, Kareem. Do you think that ever leaves us?
Well, you know, I've heard stories that some people have said it has, and for other people it hasn't. So I don't know. I would like to think it would for me.
Well, I got 2 bad do's of something. I don't know what it is. The doctor didn't know what it is. And it was viral. And one affected my joints, as I think we've discussed, and the other affected my breathing. And I had to go off sick.
Yeah, it's scary, isn't it?
Well, it's heartbreaking, especially if you can't breathe or your joints. I mean, you're a very active man, and if your joints feel painful,
Yes, no, it's quite, it is scary, and it does make you think, and it makes you think these poor older folk.
Yes.
They lose all that freedom, and that's what it is. You lose that.
Well, you suddenly feel older, don't you? You actually start to feel older, and you think, this is ridiculous. I shouldn't have this. I'm a young man, and of course they've got all the chat for you. Like you are carrying a little bit of weight, Scottie, and yes, but we've been carrying a little bit of weight for 20 years.
Scottie, you keep yourself busy and active, and you do your health in your own ways.
Well, you have to really. It makes complete sense. I don't overindulge in the eating, so it's not what we're eating. But then I don't overindulge in the exercise either.
I think it's hard as you get older. I think it's hard to lose the weight. My weight goes up and down all the time, and I think that's the annoying part of this long COVID, because you get into a routine and then you just can't do anything. You need to rest, so that's when you naturally put a bit of weight back on again.
My problem, Kareem, is I don't have the dog, and you don't notice it. Some mornings I'll look out and it's bucket and rain. I think, I was going to go for a walk, but I don't think I'll bother. There's no point in this. Whereas if the dog's there, you didn't even notice the weather. You thought, oh, it's bucketing. I better put my oilskin and wellies on.
Well, one of my dogs now, Scottie's, this will probably be her last summer. So she's slowing right down. She's still fit and healthy. She's got arthritis, but I think, this could be our last summer. So I want to make lots of pictures and videos.
Oh, yes. Yes, and the one that, it's very touching, but the one that I liked, I've got a little, somebody gave me years ago, the rules of the house, according to the Labrador. And, if it's edible, it's mine. If you can play with it, it's mine. If it's broken, it's yours, no problem at all. It's all this. And then the last one, Kareem, was always come with me when we go out, and but come with me on the difficult journeys, especially the most difficult journeys, because they'll be much easier if you're there.
There was a story's come out on Facebook, and it was by vets, and it says the most heartbreaking thing that they have to see is when a lot of owners don't go into the room when the wee dogs get put down, and they say the dog is actively looking for them before they disappear. And I think that's absolutely heartbreaking.
Well, the last thing my dogs heard was my heart. Yes, you know, that was the stuff. I just hugged them to me, and then away they went. And I have to say, all this argy-bargy about assisted dying for humans. My lovely grandmother, who's just a beautiful woman, she had 2 years of dying, you know, and she went away down to nothing. And I thought, you know, that wee soul has really, really suffered. I mean, they kept giving her stronger medicine and more morphine and all that sort of stuff, but she was really suffering. And I thought, the dog's away in 15, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, from that point of view. And yes, of course, things like that could be open to abuse, but there's also, where is the humanity? You know, from that point of view.
I'm for it, Scottie. You know, there's countries that have assisted dying, and I think that depending on the circumstances, but also I think there has to be, I can't remember, is it Holland or Norway or somewhere like that, where they need to get permission by 3 doctors, different doctors, in order for it to go ahead. So, like, you know, something like that, I think, you know, could the stats.
But I'll tell you, I mean, you know, in this country anyway, you know, you've got do not resuscitate. You've got end of life care. I think it's time to start end of life care. You know, and that's obviously giving certain drugs. Anyway, we'll not go too far down that road, and I'll tell you for why. I've noticed, you know, I get up early and pop the telly on so I can get the so-called news for the day. And every morning it's something serious. You know, there's never any, ever any fun news. And a lot of people, I mean, I know for a fact the television channels are just losing losing viewers in their droves. You know, radio's all right because everybody puts radio on for a bit of a cheery up because the music's good. So even although radio's gone pretty well, you know, national jukebox, it's still a good companion. And for people working, for people, you know, squads of people doing things, building houses, putting in windows, all that, the radio is good stuff. So radio's actually doing quite well. The only thing we're very short of is a good talk show.
Correct, Scottie. Do you know, I don't have live TV. It's been well over 10 years since I thought I'm not paying for the license. We won't go down that road. But
no, but interesting, we can, because it is a very interesting one. A lot of people are doing it now.
Yeah, well, I have, you know, you've got the Netflix and all the other ones. We won't go through the names, but that to me, I think people prefer. And I have that. However, I'm not paying for live TV, which I don't watch. And if I want to get the news, then I can get it instantly. What's happening just now, instead of having to wait.
Get it on your phone.
To watch it.
Get it on your phone. And absolutely. Since I managed to bring the equipment, I mean, you know the struggles I went through to just bring us this. But since we got you know, better quality equipment, I've uploaded, I mean, I've always uploaded, but I've uploaded everything onto YouTube, and people like to watch on demand. And this morning I was doing something live on a platform, and the platform tells you the numbers, who's watching. And there was a guy on argy-bargy going, you'll not do so well with 20 folk. And I said, well, that's not who's watching. And at that point, I think with around 1,500 watching, and you know, because people come and go and do different things and what have you. And then another couple of thousand will have a look at the on-demands. And that's you got 3,500 people for a pop-up. You know, now I know radio stations that would be proud to have that every day on their programs.
Yeah. And people as well will have it on in the background while they're doing their cleaning or whatever else, you know.
Well, I've actually started saying to people, listen, don't feel you have to look at my physog. You know, set it running and go out and do your high dusting or whatever. And then it's just like Scottie back on the radio.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because our bosses, Kareem, on the radio, when I was at probably my height in Scotland, and all the other radio stations were running for their lives. What the secret with that is, that was radio, but my bosses were television people. And they were actually very, very excited that you could have a 3-hour program with one person, because they were used to making 25 minutes of television at huge cost with a big team of people.
Yeah.
You know, interesting.
Yeah. I was going to ask Scottie before I go, when we're talking about dogs, have you always had Labradors, or have you always had different types?
Well, no, going back to childhood, we had White West Highlands.
Oh, right.
So we had terriers. And I mean, I love terriers for their cheek, their cheek and their quirkiness, and just the fact they're so interested in life. But they're yappy. They can be a little bit snappy, all sorts of things. You know, I mean, you can deal with that. But we had an old one that we inherited late on, and he could be quite snappy. You just had to watch. You had to be quite quick with your fingers, you know, and that sort of thing. And the Labradors are just so clever and so interested and so interesting. And watching them work things out, like I can remember going for a country walk with a pup and just watching them work out how to get under the gate.
Yeah.
You know, and looking at me as if to say, what do we do now? And I thought, we open the gate. You know, just just the companionship of them, so clever. And the last one, the first one was, as you know, big. Not fat, but big, very big. The second one was tiny.
All right.
You could put your whole hand round his whole chest.
Wow.
And listen to his little heart, and then he would roll over on his back and look at you as if to say, I love you and I love this.
I know one of my friends has a Labrador, and it's like a miniature Labrador, and it's just the breeder, for whatever reason, she believes, you know, obviously making them smaller, whatever else with the bloodline, it's meant to be healthier. So this breeder's seems we've been doing it for years and years. But the dogs are all very fit and healthy. So, you know.
Well, this thing used to run off till he was a dot. And I told the breeder about it, and then he would come back eventually. And I told the breeder about it. He said, oh, no, go and get him if he does that. So I presented my tummy to him, and I said, how am I supposed to go and get him? He goes off till he's a dot, and then he comes back.
Full of energy.
Just fantastic. I mean, I would love it. And one day he got into a field full of rapeseed and came out with almost no hair on his head. But very, very happy, very excited. I thought he must be in discomfort, took him straight to the vet. And she said, well, you'll see, the thing is, Labradors are actually very stoic. And he was in this field going, oh, there's more rabbits and more pheasants.
You got to love dogs. We don't deserve them. And how people treat them and just, you know, how cruel to them is disgusting.
You just need to talk to them. It's as simple as that. I love watching the sheepdogs on the likes of the platforms, you know. Just very incredible. Clever. Very, very, very clever, the whole thing. And that level of accuracy and tolerance. But when you watch them, when you see the shepherd saying, right, come on, let's go to work, the dog is just so chuffed.
Yes.
You know? Well, yes, and running away ahead to the buyer and waiting on him, going, come on, get this open.
Absolutely. Well, Scottie, listen, thank you very much for taking my call. It's been
Great
a wee
to
while,
hear you.
but I have been listening to your pop-ups and your videos and liking them and that. I've not spoke politics. I know you said a wee while back that you didn't want to.
Well, I thought we'd but I hoped you hadn't gone in a wee cream puff with me and thought, oh, well, I'm no bothered phoning you, you know.
Well, when you think about back to the good days when we were phoning every day when it was lockdown, there was just so much a variety of different types of conversations going on.
That was a winner, Kareem. When I look back at it, we just decided to get on and entertain the public, and the people I've spoken to that have said that kept me going, by the way.
Yeah.
You know,
it was routine. I mean, getting up, you had to work from home. Right, Scotty's on at 10 or 11, pop him on, and then you were on later on, and it got you through it. It was just something to look forward to, and then listening to other people speaking or phoning in. It was, I enjoyed it.
Kareem, do you remember the Scott FM shows?
I was a wee boy at the time when it was on, but I know of it.
They were really quite incredible. I mean, a lot of sense talked, a lot of nonsense talked, you know, particularly by my good self. But there was a lot of common sense talk, a lot of very interesting discussions, a lot of very genuine people, a lot of lovely, crazy people in a good way. I mean, one day I found I had a bleep that I could press. So I was telling people, I said, you should bleep off, I'll tell you that. And of course, it caused terrific laughter. And a guy came on with his phone, and his phone had a bleep. And the two of us had a bleep conversation. And I was able to trust him enough not to actually say the word. And it was so funny.
Brilliant. I'll be honest, Scotty, if I obviously was a lot older back in those days, I don't think I'd be able to phone in. I'd be too afraid to phone in.
Oh, no, you'd have phoned in. We got all the nonsense under the sun. And the best one was youngsters phoning and pretending they were grown up and they were going to give me threats. We'll find you and we'll run you through. And then you would hear the mother come in and go, right, you two, get your beds now and get that off.
Different times, but good times. And we've said this before, it shows you how strong and how powerful radio is then, but it still is now.
Very. And I mean, you've heard me say this before, but I did speak to a senior radio guy and I said, if I went on the radio tonight, do you think the audience would come back? And he went, instant.
Yeah.
Because the word went round. I even played a song on my first night because I thought, well, nobody's going to phone in the first night. And how wrong was I? The switchboard was on fire. And somebody said, Scotty, I think you should take the calls. I don't know why you're playing a song.
Oh, good memories. Good memories.
Great stuff. Anyway, my dear fellow, you take great care of you. Strength to you. And we will catch up because we've got a lot of politics to discuss. We've got to see where Mr. Trump fits in.
Well, we'll keep that for another time.
Oh, yes.
You know, all I'm going to say is it's very interesting when you watch social media, but both ends, because when you've got the people that are against them, they do raise some really good points. But when you've got the supporters for Trump, they've raised a lot of things that actually the left wing haven't brought up, and it does make you think. And it's like, who do you believe?
Well, no, Kareem, there are huge things going on, and trust me, he is a force for good. I've looked into, he's a huge force for good. And I'll tell you what's interesting. A guy sent me a list of how no president had ever been accused of, and all the things that Donald Trump had been accused of. And I said to him, do you see how desperate they are to get rid of him?
Yeah.
Because they don't want him, you know, getting in, finding out exactly what's going on, because they know their hands are not clean and his are.
Well, the one thing I would say from what I've seen, I've not took too much into American politics, but he seems to be, he's looking around the world and saying, why are we giving Asia 45 million for this? Why are we giving, you know, no, that's going to stop, take the money back, which, do you know what? That does make sense.
But Kareem, can you imagine if you what, and then, you know, you went, right, what have we got in the pot for a wee holiday? And you looked at your bank balance and it was away to nothing. and you know, a relative of the missus or somebody said, oh, well, no, I like to give a lot to charity.
Yeah.
And you think, yeah, but there's giving to charity and there's leaving us with nothing.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
know?
Exactly. I'm sure we're going to probably hear a lot more of pros and cons over the next few years while Trump's still in power.
Absolutely. And DINKY-DOO, sir.
Listen, thanks for taking my call, Scotty.
Bless you, Kareem. Tarala. Well, that's our Kareem. Excellent to hear him. Haven't spoken to him for far too long. So it's very good he's here now. We've been busy here, guys. Let's get your stuff on here and see what's to do. So we've finally made it to a live from Chicago, says C.S. LaRusso. LaRusso, we are so chuffed to have you with us from Chicago, I tell you. Get well soon, Kareem, says the wonderful Susan. Rick Hunter, RW Entertainment. Hello, Scotty. You're my awesome friend. Today is my 44th birthday. Many, many happy returns, Rink. And a very happy birthday to you, to Rick. So I said Rink there when I meant Rick. Jane, hi, first time live. Really appreciate the movies you share, Scotty. Jane, I really, really appreciate that you've come on to say, because I'll tell you, the movies get thousands, some of them hundreds of thousands of viewers and subscribers. And what we're needing on here is for the lives to interlace with the movies. And I'll tell you what I even thought, Jane, at some point, maybe a particular movie that we've put up, getting everybody to come on and have a bit of a discussion about what did we think the cast were doing there, what did we think the characters were doing. Can we all say happy birthday to Rick Hunter? He's 44. I tell you. Thanks, Susan. Wonderful, Rick. DINKY-DOO, I say to you. You're welcome. Now, all since the COVID vaccine, says John Doe. Yes, John Doe, yes, indeed. I see where you're coming from there. Border collies are smart dogs. Well, Susan, it's border collies we're talking about, going for the sheep. John Doe says, can he fix? Ah, right. I see what you're talking about. Yes, absolutely. Kareem, hi, Susan. Absolutely. Tiki. Hello, Scotty. Can you please tell my friend Milan happy birthday? He's turning 22. He's a huge fan. Ah, Milan, lovely to have you with us. And a big DINKY-DOO, I say to you. Now then, who else have we got here? Oh, wait, let's see what's happening here. Wonderful stuff. So, what's everybody thinking? We're obviously not going to go political, but what's everybody thinking about some of the happenings in the world? Who have we got here? There's the wonderful Neil O'Gormley. My wee cat is in her last days as we speak. I have a vet arriving tomorrow to have her euthanized. I'm not looking forward to it, but it has to be done in case she is in pain. I was watching an episode of All Creatures Great and Small tonight, and it reduced me to tears. What am I like for a grown man? I tell you, mind you, grown men doesn't make any difference, you know what I mean? We've got to look after the emotional side. C.S. LaRusso, happy birthday. Still no David this week. I hope he's okay, says Susan. Neil, we send you strength for you. Love to the wee cat. Absolutely. And think of the joyful life she had with you and of all the joy that she brought you. Think of the good times, Neil, because, you know, life is finite. There's absolutely no doubt about that, I tell you. Guys, how's it looking? Are we all right? Is the picture and sound okay? Seems to be a little bit slow here. I'm just having a look. Everything working okay? Well, maybe do a quick speed test and see if we are up to scratch. Let me do it live while I'm here, and I can see what is what. Oh, yes. I'm not just an athlete, you know. So there we go. I'll do that and see if we can do one of these. I'm sure I've got a speed test here somewhere, and I can just see if everything's working. But if you're getting good at phone, it's not doing any pixelating or anything, is it? Right. Everything might go a bit funny when we're running this. And there we go. Yes, the speeds could certainly probably be up a bit more. But let me see. Well, that's not too bad. That is certainly not the worst. So there you go. Excellent stuff. Right. I'll go for that. I will buy. Wonderful. Did anybody ever see that wonderful movie about cracking the Enigma code? Now, what's the name of it? I can never get this one just on the tip of my tongue. About Alan Turing. The something something. Right, it'll come back to me. And there's a wonderful exchange there. Susan, sending your prayers, Neil, for the wee cat. The picture sounds good, Scottie. Oh, excellent, Susan. Well, there we are. I can always rely on you, Susan. I'll take your word for it. It all seems to be quite good, but it's interesting how the speeds can vary. Kareem says, Scottie, your thoughts on people attacking the monarchy just now? Not my king. Well, the only thing I would say to them, no institution, regardless of how great or small, is ever firing on all cylinders all the time. And the monarchy has been through really quite a tough time. Queen Elizabeth II set very, very high standards and made a lot of personal sacrifices, just to keep everything on keel, on the straight and narrow. The Imitation Game, Charlie, thank you very much. That was it. We will talk about that in a minute. So Queen Elizabeth, she made a lot of personal sacrifices, and she also lived till she was 97. And also, she cast a long shadow as well, with the high quality of her work. So the monarchy, like any institution, has come and gone over the years. In the old days, they had to handle all sorts of scandals. Henry VIII killing his missuses, all that sort of carry on. Sorry, nothing funny about it, but just I was thinking of the plural there. And right through, King Billy, who the Orange people worship, was a dreadful, 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 dreadful man. The Georges, poor old George III, you talk about the madness of King George III. He wasn't mad. The poor man was ill. He had a condition. Old William IV, then Queen Victoria. She did a lot of good till Albert died, but she also presided over the height of empire. And the woke brigade are trying to make us feel guilty about a lot of things that the British did in the name of their empire. They also did many, many wonderful things. And then you had the end of empire. Then you had, after Queen Victoria, you had Edward VII, a great man, a bit of a glutton. The last thing the staff used to do was stick a chicken beside him at bedtime in case he got peckish in the night. And he only ruled for about 10 years. I think that was it. I think he took over when he was 60, and he died when he was 70. So that was that. George V, his son, they euthanized him at the end, right enough. He'd been very ill, but they euthanized him at the end. Then then you had the abdication, Edward VIII, George V's son, and that didn't go well at all. And George VI took over with Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and he died at 56. He was 56. He had lung cancer. He was a very, very heavy smoker, plain cigarettes, and he died at 56. And then you had the Queen took over as a very young lady, and Prince Philip, and they did extremely well. For how long did they manage to keep that one going? 67 years. Was that right? More. I can't remember, but a huge effort and a wonderful piece of work by both of them. And then King Charles, approaching 70 odd. I mean, what is he? What is he now? Wait till I see. He'll be 77 this year, I think, in November. King Charles will be 77. And I think that his wife is a little bit older than him. So she'll be heading towards 80. So you've got a 77-year-old and an 80-year-old on the throne. So, but it's not that I bother about. What I would say in summation of that is, if you don't necessarily have high respect for the incumbent, then at least respect the office of the crown. Yeah. And somebody brought a very interesting thing up today. They said, how come on the money and on the notes, on the coins and on the notes, King Charles is not wearing a crown? Because if you look back, all the monarchs wear crowns on the coins and the notes. So that's an interesting one. Also, when his mother, the late Queen Elizabeth II, was not lying in state in St. Giles, and I did query this at the time, but lying at rest in St. Giles. The difference being they weren't snubbing St. Giles at all. To lie in state, the monarch has to lie in a public office, right? Somewhere where it belongs to a public office, like Westminster Hall, is a public office. St. Giles Cathedral was owned by the Church of Scotland, I think, if I've got that right. So that's why Her Majesty was at rest in St. Giles. But while she was at rest in St. Giles, you would have seen the crown on the cushion. I used to drink in the crown and cushion, but you would see the crown on the cushion, and the crown was the crown of Scotland. So Her Majesty was Queen of Scotland. Yes, don't try any of that Queen of Scots stuff and all that, I tell you. There we go. Now, James is in the house. James DINKY-DOO for chat. Opinions on Fortnite, Scottie. Can you play it once a week? I would ask you. Great film. Yes, The Imitation Game. I would love to, but certain films I just can't get near with all the heavily copyrighted. And it would just, you'd have to give up the game, from that point of view, the game. You see what I just did there? But The Imitation Game there, I mean, the wonderful Alan Turing. And I understand that although he was gay and homosexuality was illegal in this country, what they did to Alan Turing was criminal, especially when you look at the good that he did for us. They said he cut the war by between 2 and 4 years by cracking that code. He was only in his 20s. Alan Turing, an official inquest into his death, ruled that he had died by suicide by consuming a cyanide-laced apple. Now, in that case, I would say, although they could say he took his own life by consuming a cyanide-laced apple, there was cyanide on the floor of the house, and had he just helped himself to an apple without completely cleaning up the cyanide? That's what one asked, because they chemically castrated him, and he never put a foot wrong. So there you have it. There are people nowadays, I think, society would benefit from them being chemically castrated, but not the likes of a hero who saved this country. There were rumors that, right, not for that reason, given all I've done for computing. Charlie, that's interesting. I'm not going to read it out because I can't confirm or deny. Kareem says, thank you, Scottie, for that. Oh, absolutely, Kareem. That's what I think about it. I also think that it was anti-monarchists, Scottish anti-monarchists, that lost us independence in 2014. I'd go so far as to say that. Hail from the mouth of Pascagoula on the Gulf of America. Melinda Lemon, are you not just amazing? How lovely to have you with us. And thank you for joining us this morning. James Dixon, DINKY-DOO, apples contain cyanide naturally in the pips. Now, James, I'm sure apple pips were involved in a cure for cancer. I can't confirm that because it's at the very, very deepest recesses of my mind. How very, very interesting. It was shocking, says Charlie, absolutely, Charlie. And he couldn't think or work, no, with that brilliant mind. But my favorite exchange of the lot, well, there's so many great moments in the movie, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but his run-ins with the commander from the start, played by the wonderful Charles Dance, beautifully played by the wonderful Charles Dance. You know, when he tried to interview him, you know, and all that stuff, and he comes out with it. He shouts on his secretary to come and show Mr. Turing out, Margaret, Margaret. And he said, Enigma. What did you say? Enigma. That's what you're working on, isn't it? Hi, Scotty from Canada. Lonesome Don Wilkie. How lovely to have you with us from Canada. Whereabouts in Canada are you? In Canada, I tell you. Kareem for me, SNP 1, Indie Party 2, and the Monarchy in an independent Scotland. Well, they couldn't get you for it, Kareem. Do you see what I'm saying? As soon as the unionists say, well, we're not going to let you go. What about the King's? Oh, no, the King's ours. We're taking him with us, big style. We are great monarchists in Scotland. So was there something else you wanted to ask about the currency? Because we can tell you about that as well. And I was saying to somebody, I did a pop-up last night, Kareem, and I actually said to somebody, the First Minister or the President or whoever wants to do the independence, never mind all this, excuse me, please, sir, could we have a referendum? It's, hello, Westminster, just to let you know that we're probably going, okay? And we're going to run it past our people. And if it's a yes, we'll be away. So don't start putting money into a no campaign and everything, because we've sorted the currency, we've sorted the monarchy, we're not going to be a republic. We've done this. We want to hang on to our own money. We don't want to be giving you every penny we earn and then let it get frittered. You give us back our pocket money, all that sort of stuff, you see. Maiden name is McNuketer. Any McNuketers out there? Now, Melinda, McNuketer, I think I've never heard of a clan McNuketer, but I'm wondering if the McNuketers are what we call a sept, S-E-P-T, as if it was short for September, a sept of an actual clan. So McNuketer might be McNaughton. Yes, in which case you and I could be related, big style. Bletchley Park is still a tourist spot from where he worked. I had a darling old friend passed away in the summer there at 102, and she was a code breaker at Bletchley Park. She obviously couldn't talk about her work, but we know that's what she did. Lonesome Don Wilkie says, I'm from Vancouver Island in beautiful BC. I have a cousin in Vancouver Island, but I would imagine that there's a fair number of people there. I also, one of my best friends is in Vancouver Island. Now, am I right in thinking you can get the ferry over to Vancouver? Is that right? So you've got Vancouver Island. Beautiful, beautiful. Seen the pictures. Love it, Scotty. Absolutely, Charlie. Just a fabulous, fabulous movie. But the run, and the other one when Stuart Mingus arrives. And you see, if you ever check these guys out, it doesn't say they were the head of this or the head of that. It usually says things like they were attached to the Foreign Office or they did military service. You see, so you don't get the detail. But Stuart Mingus, who was the head of MI6, which we don't talk about because there are only 5 military intelligence branches, nobody admits to MI6. Stuart Mingus was the brains behind so much of what was going on there, and he saw the wisdom in Turing. And when he was going to London, and Turing gave him a letter, when he'd said to the commander, "Who's your boss then?" He went, "Winston Churchill. If you're unhappy with me, you can write to him." And Turing thought, right, well, I'll just do that then. Interesting, isn't it? And also the 5th man that they talked about involved in that as well. Fantastic. Absolutely amazing. So there you go. You're right. And was I right, Lonesome Don? So there we are. And you can get the ferry. How long does the ferry take? I mean, we've got ferries on the Clyde here that go to the likes of Dunoon and Rothsay, and that sort of idea. And Dunoon's about 20 minutes usually, around about 20 minutes. Wonderful stuff. So do a lot of people live in the island and work in Vancouver on the mainland? Or the other way, do a lot of people live in the mainland and work on the island? I don't know. You need to tell me. Yes, indeed. Less than 2 hours. All right. So you probably wouldn't commute on a daily basis. Is that right? It's not as quick as that. Guys, General Sup. Now, General Sup means that if you've got something you're drinking handy, pick it up and have a sip of it. General Sup. General Sup. Oh, that is so lush. Oh, no. Less than 2 hours. I love Lonesome Don. He says no. And then he says, James Dixon, for anyone who doesn't have special dietary requirements, eat some protein before going to bed. You will sleep better. 20 to 30 grams, about 3 eggs. Now, James, are you working me from the back? Do people not say now, don't have protein at night, have carbs? Have they got that wrong? Do tell us a bit more. Cold tea. No, it's not cold tea. It's lovely and warm, Flying Scotsman. Talking about Flying Scotsman, have you seen the Flying Scotsman on social media recently? That train is so beautiful. When was she built? Was it something like 1922? Wow. So it should be 103 years old. If it wasn't for, we would all be speaking German if it wasn't for Mr. Turing. Well, a lot more people would have died. But I don't think that we'd be speaking German because I think Hitler really was. I don't know if you've ever seen, I've uploaded it, guys, the movie The Bunker, which covers the last 105 days of the top Nazis in Berlin, living in the bunker under the street. So they are. Good evening, sir. I can't believe I heard you the other day. My dad used to listen to you when I was a young lad. Flying Scotsman. Do you know, it's crazy, crazy stuff. When people say, are you famous? I say, no, I don't know about famous, but I'm very, very, very well known. And it just is mind-blowing. When you say to somebody, have you heard of Scottie McClue? Because I never assume people will know. There'll be nothing more embarrassing saying, you'll have heard of me. They go, no, I haven't a clue who you are. So there you are. So you've always got to watch out for that. No, Scotty, try the protein. It works. James, amazing. Does it have any effect on your weight going up or down? You were in Scotland at the time. Brilliant nights on the radio. Flying Scotsman, that would be, well, I've been in Scotland a lot, but we've also been in other parts of the UK. and your half-wits say, oh, you got flung off and that was the end of you. You think, no, that was the start of me. You know, I mean, I didn't get the contract renewed at Scott FM because people just basically didn't know what they were doing. And Father forgive them, for they know not what they do. So that was a very silly thing they did. And I was working not the next day, but the day after. Because one of the big bosses telephoned as soon as I got home to the house. The press were all on the phone. Nothing loses anything in the telling, of course, with the press. And a friend phoned me, and I managed to get his call because the phone was just going non-stop. And I said, hello, like that, you see, because it could have been anything. And he said, what happened? And I said, oh, it's you. I said, I don't know. I don't know what happened. They went, well, right, well, I can't start you tomorrow. It'll be Thursday now. And I was on another radio station a day later, 2 days later, 2 days. Incredible. So there we go. Good old memories, man. Good to see you're alive and kicking. Flying Scotsman, you'll not believe the number of people that come on and go, my God, it's Scottie McClue. I thought you were dead. And I say, well, apparently not. Not very often a character like yourself comes along. Well, Flying Scotsman, it was a mix of things. The radio station was owned by 2 ITV stations who were very powerful in the media in Scotland. And it couldn't be owned by the one in the middle, because that would have given them a monopoly. They would have had the television station and this huge radio station, exactly the same size as the television station. So, and I'd worked for all these people, and they knew they could trust me implicitly, right? Even although I'm sure their heart would be in their mouth on occasion. And we'd discuss things and what have you. We never ever crossed the line. And they couldn't believe that one guy and his producer, phone op, lovable lassie of the big switchboard, wizard of the big switchboard, they couldn't believe that they could turn out 3 hours of quality programming that attracted about 250,000 people every half hour. And that's 6 half hours. Now, obviously, it tails off a bit at night, and sometimes it would be a little slower to rise at the very start. So you've got a bit of that, but very, very substantial. I was reading about Scotland's top comedian when I was a kid, and it said he could reach up to 18,000 people a week. Now, that was huge. Now, I could get, let's call it 400,000 people an hour for one night. So I was reaching, let's say we took that 3 times, let's call it 1.2 million people per night for 5 nights, 6 million people listening throughout the week. And he was a top comedian with a top feed, and he was reaching 18,000, and that was a cause for celebration. So it just lets you know. I mean, a good old firm game, what are we talking? 60,000 people at Hampden Park, would that be right? Have I got that right? 60,000 people at Hampden Park. So I, every half hour, had the equivalent of 3 old firm games at Hampden Park going on in half an hour. Yeah. My audience was bigger than the attendance of 3 old firm games. And you look at all the trains, all the police horses, all that. And all we did was, put the fader up, switch the switch, and everybody was there. Incredible. No, protein doesn't make you gain weight. Your body doesn't store protein. It will if you lift weights. It makes your muscles grow. So, James, Instead of first thing in the morning with the hard-boiled eggs or soft-boiled eggs, you're saying nighttime. Would I be allowed a piece of toast with them or just the eggs? You tell me. Yes, James, so right, says Melinda. Melinda knows her stuff. I tell you, Melinda, you are quite a lady. Well deserved, I'm sure, says Melinda. C.S. LaRusso. So we can't overeat protein. Oh, C.S. LaRusso, I wouldn't go that far. I think you could overeat anything. You can certainly overeat carbs. I'll tell you, hot custard or hot eggnog at night, says Melinda. Wow, Melinda, have you got a spare room in your house in America? Can I come and stay there and you can personally look after my culinary requirements? How fantastic. Hot custard at night. You know, say, Scottie, why all the laughter and fun and joy? Well, it's my landlady, Melinda. She makes me hot custard at night. Talking about food's dangerous at this time of night in Scotland. Flying Scotsman, not off, I can tell you. But great stuff as well, amazing. Anybody got any other wonderful things they can spill? Like the fact that we can have protein eggs at night. Oh, wow. I'll tell you what's happening at supper. Now, if I'm up in the night with indignation, I'll be wanting a word with you, I can tell you. James says, yes, of course you can have toast with it. 3 eggs or a wee tin of sardines will help you sleep. Wow. I can remember hearing a story about people that went to stay with this guy who was an absolute character in Yorkshire. And he insisted, he would go, come on, lads, time to sink a few pints. And they'd go to the pub and have Yorkshire ale. They'd then come home, and apparently it was all hands onto the toast and sardines. So there's something in this, I tell you. Bananas got protein. I could go a milkshake. No, I think Flying Scotsman, bananas will have some protein, but I think they've also got carbs, because I think the calorific value, listen to me, is about 80 or 90 for the banana. But the banana is a delicious and delightful treat. I mean, I absolutely adore them. You know, you can't beat it. Very good for potassium, and salt, of course, for sodium. It's interesting because people say, oh, watch the salt. Salt's not healthy. And then what's the first thing a hospital do? They give you a saline drip or a saline drip. So there we are. Melinda says extremely high in sugar. Wow. Right, it's my favorite fruit. So they are the very high in sugar. Melinda, I've got a wee bit of a weakness for raspberries and also the blueberries. Are they all right? Melinda says, skip all carbs and save our lives. Wow. Good. I like sugar too, says the Flying Scotsman. Yeah, but you've got to balance your sugars. You don't want to have your type 2 diabetes. Steer clear of oranges, says John Doe. Why? Why? I'll tell you. What's the first thing that all your health people say? They go, now, a wee glass of orange juice in the morning, fruit juice, all that sort of stuff. Bananas and peanut butter. Not if you've got a nut allergy, though. But peanut butter seems to be very popular. Have you not got to watch that some peanut butters don't have palm oil in them? 1K in sugar a week, that might be a bit much. 1K, what do you mean 1K? A kilo? Much lower in sugar. The raspberries and the blueberries, Melinda, but still, can I have them? Oranges and carbs cause stomach upset. Ah, right, got you. So there's acid in the oranges, and I believe an alkaline body is better apart from in the stomach itself. Is that right? And apparently, if you have apple cider vinegar, which you would think is highly acidic, it actually turns alkaline within you. Is this correct? Or am I talking nonsense, Melinda? Yes, have them. So I'm all right. I can have the raspberries, just a little punnet of raspberries, you see, and then maybe a choice of blueberries or something as well. But I do like this protein at night. Think it's interesting. I wonder if that's why Edward VII, Edward the Peacemaker, I wonder if that's why they left him a roast chicken by his bed at night, because he was actually a well-known glutton. There you go. I tell you, he carried a bit of weight, and I don't think he was terribly tall, but apparently he was a brilliant farmer, and one of the farmers on the Sandringham estate was talking to him one night, and he said, "Oh, he's a brilliant farmer." So there you are. He was giving him advice. The king was giving the farmer a bit of advice about crops and things. I can tell you, a kilogram of sugar a week. Oh, Melinda says, drink a spoonful with the mother with magnesium and salt and iodine in the form of potassium drops each morning. It helps. Now, tell me, what about milk thistle and turmeric and black pepper and omega-3 fish oil capsules? How would you say out of that lot? The Flying Scotsman must have been horrendous before the days of proper. Oh, the Flying Scotsman. Sorry, I thought you meant the Flying Scotsman. Flying Scotsman says it must have been horrendous in the days before the days of proper medicine. Well, you see, that's saying that allopathic medicine is proper medicine. And that's not allowing for homeopathic medicine. One of the reasons that the ladies got burned at the stake as witches is because they were herbalists and could cure disease. And the church was men only. And they disapproved of the power that these women had. So they executed them or ducked them, and well, they executed them, dreadful. We do owe these ladies an apology, I tell you. No way, says Melinda. Tell me, no way what, Melinda? Bad supplements there, especially the turmeric, right? So everybody's going on about how good for you turmeric is. Is that complete and utter nonsense? I tell you. There we are. This has been incredible tonight, guys. We haven't come to any conclusion, and we're not saying yay or nay, but very, very interesting chat, I can tell you. Now, I can also tell you that we've got a minute left, and I'm heartbroken because it's been such a privilege, as it always is, to be with you. Particularly tonight, just been a fantastic show because you guys are amazing. We'll get more phone calls, we'll get more chat going. Pop comments in what you want to discuss. I'm always interested. Extremely inflammatory. Now, when you say inflammatory, it's not so good for the joints then. Eat plenty of herbs, spices, fruit, meat, and balance it all out. Right. James Dixon, DINKY-DOO. Melinda says good night, all good night, Melinda, and bless you. Goodbye, everybody, goodbye. Take care, everybody, as you go. Goodbye, everybody. Auf Wiedersehen. Au revoir and cheerio. I love you. Night, night. You are. Stick out your tongue and say ta-ta. Bye-bye.